Welcome to the Redefine podcast.
Okay, happy podcast day. Happy podcast day to you. Welcome to the show if you're brand new. And of course, if you are an existing listener, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about redefining your health. And really, it's redefining your belief systems around your health. It's still January as of the release of this episode. And I want to continue that theme of helping you set the pace for 2025. And one of the biggest changes, one of the biggest goals that people set for themselves in the new year is make improvements in their health. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. However, I think people really by this time of year, by the fourth week in January and into February, by the time basically Super Bowl in the U.S. comes around, everybody has already fallen off the wagon, right? And they've stopped showing up at the gyms, et cetera, and they've given up on their health goal. And really beyond kind of the challenge of changing, your nutritional habits and your diet and incorporating physical activity. Beyond, the challenges of that, I think the biggest challenge before you get into any of that is the mindset, right? Is the limiting beliefs that are actually the thing that's holding you back from following through with those actions of changing your nutrition and diet and incorporating physical activity, right? It's the limiting beliefs that you may know or don't know you have. And so for this episode, I want to raise your awareness around potential limiting beliefs that you might be carrying and that you might not even know, so that, again, you can start taking steps to making changes. If you not backtrack, but if you rewind and look at kind of my life experience, I grew up with a lot of limiting beliefs in the household when it comes to health, when it comes to aging, when it comes to, what to expect as you get old, right? I grew up with a lot of middle-aged to senior adults. And so I was able to kind of observe how they were living and the mindsets behind the things that they did in terms of diet, in terms of physical activity, and really was able to kind of pick out the limiting beliefs that then resulted in their not so optimal health conditions, right? Their well-being. Maybe I was privileged or lucky to have been able to observe that, because I also observed how unhappy and uncomfortable, I think maybe uncomfortable is a better word, how uncomfortable these individuals were towards, the back nine basically of their lives into of course their transition. So in seeing that, I definitely wanted something different for myself. I wanted a different life experience, especially towards the back nine, right? As I get older, and so if that being the case, having wanted a different outcome, then I knew I had to do things differently. And again, the root of all that is adopting different belief systems around health, different belief systems around nutrition and diet, different belief systems around physical activity. And as a result, I have wildly different results than that previous generation that I observed. I am much healthier, and I think empirically, if we did like a scan or a blood panel, you'll see that I am much healthier than that previous generation. And again, it's because I actively worked at incorporating different belief systems than they did around health, around things like nutrition and diet and physical activity. And so again, this is the thing that we're gonna help you with in this episode. If there are some changes that you want to make, if you don't want to make any health changes and you think you're good, that's fine. That's completely up to you. I'm not making any judgments as to where you are in your own health. But if you do want to make changes in your health this year, positive changes in your health this year, then my goal is to hopefully help you kind of raise that awareness around potentially limiting beliefs around those things, so that you can make that positive change. All right, so just a small list of a couple of categories of mindsets and things that you might be doing. The first thing is negative affirmations, like positive affirmations, right? No, negative affirmations. If you ever hear yourself say like, I have a unhealthy relationship with food, or I have an addiction to food. I eat, I'm an emotional eater. Anything that comes after I have, or I do not have, or I am, or I am not. Anything that comes after any of those statements is an affirmative statement, even if it's a negative affirmation, right? Again, like, I don't like exercise, or I am not athletic, or I can't even walk, et cetera, half an hour. Whatever thing that limits you from making the changes that you want to make in or taking the steps to make the changes that you want to make in your health. Understand that you're already stopping you're already stopping yourself from even taking that first step into making that change, because you're affirming something negative, right? You're affirming that you can't make the changes. So this is a really, really important place to start. Again, look at and examine and really kind of, and this is hard to do, right? You have to take a really hard look at yourself and be very, very brutally honest with yourself. And if you're not, you'll never be able to make these changes. But look at the things that you're telling yourself, and especially with sentences like I have or I have not, and whatever comes after I am or I am not, whatever comes after that. Those are things that you're affirming to yourself, and you may be stopping yourself from taking those first steps into better health without knowing it. So that's the first thing, right? Really raise your awareness and try to really be cognizant of these the things that you're telling yourself that are actually negative affirmations. The second thing is it's just how it is mentality, right? I did a reel. I published a reel on Facebook the other day. And if you want to find me on Facebook, by the way, it's facebook.com/RonnieCruz11. Not a lot going on over there, but just come find me if you want to connect. I posted a reel that talked about people telling me that when I hit a certain age, like when I hit my 20s, my metabolism's going to slow down, or when I hit my 30s, my metabolism's going to slow down, and I hit my 40s. And now that I'm in my late 40s, people are saying the same thing about my 50s, right? Every decade milestone in my life, people have told me that, people have kind of told me what to expect when I get to that decade, right? And generally it's not really a great thing, right? Like, your metabolism is going to slow down, you're going to gain weight, it's going to become harder and harder to keep the weight off, et cetera, et cetera. None of that stuff has actually happened, right? Another thing that I hear, and I hear this a lot from the Filipino community. I'm Filipino. And I hear this a lot, or I have heard this a lot in the past. It's like, yeah, you know what? Taking medicine is just part of getting old. I'm like, okay, if you say so, right? If you say so. And again, for me, it's like, yeah, okay. So I understand why you're saying that. I see your results, and I can draw a direct correlation between the results that you have in your health and the mindset that you have, right? None of these things that people tell you in kind of this it's just the way it is mindset, none of those things are true, right? Yes, it's just the way it is for them, and it's that way because of the decisions that they've made throughout their life, and the lifestyle and the eating habits and the physical activity or lack of physical activity. I get people want to share their experience with you, but it doesn't have to be definitively your experience. As like my example, I mean, again, people have told me to expect certain things as I've gotten older, and none of those things have happened, right? None of those things have happened for me because I've made different decisions as them. Yes, it might have been true for them, because again, that's just the life that they've lived. If you don't want those same results, then make a change, right? Nothing is set in stone in terms of it's just the way it is, right? You get to choose what kind of life you have in terms of the well-being and the health that you want to experience, and it's just a matter of thinking differently than what people are telling you to think, right? So it's not just the way it is. That's a big one. The last category is acquire a taste for it, right? Acquire the desire. And this can go for diet and changes in nutrition. This can go for things like supplements, right? I take a very, very healthy green supplement, by the way, and I'll put it in the link in the show notes if you're interested in taking a look at it. It's really, really good stuff, top shelf quality stuff. And no, it's not AG1. It's even better than that. I hear a lot of people in whatever kind of greens product, but this is just an example. I've heard a lot of people say, I just don't like the taste, right? Okay, so acquire the freaking taste. I don't take, I don't take pills. I have a hard time taking pills. Well, acquire the ability to take pills in terms of natural supplements, right? Another one is I just don't like exercise. Like, I don't think anybody likes exercise. I can say from my experience, growing up, I loved PE class as a kid, because most of PE class, when you're still young enough, most of it is just playing, right? It's just games. But as you get older, as I got into high school, I started really disliking PE because it was like a lot of stuff that I didn't enjoy, because it wasn't games, right? It was just like exercise. And as a kid, like, I don't want to spend an hour exercising, especially running. Like, I'm short, I'm not a tall person. So like when we would run distance, when we would run like, 3 miles or a 5K in PE, I was always the last one because I'm short, I'm tiny. And I was not, conditioned. I hadn't really conditioned and fallen in love with running. So like I could have easily gone my whole life with the notion that I don't like to exercise. But I developed the taste for it, especially running. Once I got to college and I started running recreationally by myself and was able to kind of find my own pace. I really started to fall in love with it. I acquired the love for running after the fact, right? After the fact. So you can really acquire the taste and acquire the desire and the love for anything. You just have to let go of this limiting kind of belief that you don't like this thing or like it's just not for you. You can acquire the taste for anything. I mean, think about it. A lot of you, I mean, maybe not all of you, but some of you drink alcohol, right? Well, the first time you tasted alcohol, for me, I was relatively young. A lot of people have this story where their parents let them taste alcohol when they're young, just to give them the taste. You know what I mean? And so like I don't think anybody automatically likes the taste of alcohol. But as you get older, you acquire the taste for those things. You can do the same for anything else. You can acquire the taste for nutritional supplements. You can acquire the taste around supplements. I just said supplements. You can acquire the ability to take pills. I used to be horrible at taking pills and vitamins. I used to practically choke on those things. But I developed and acquired the ability to do it. Like, I just practiced and I stuck to it because I knew the benefits of doing so. Right, as opposed to just shutting it down and not doing it, and then ending up with crappy health or a substandard nutrition, right, and not getting all the nutrition that my body needs. And so, yeah, of course, I'm going to acquire the ability to do it, whether I like it or not. Right, same thing again with exercise. Same thing with food. Developing different food habits. Now, one thing with food is you got to understand, you may or may not, depending on your current diet. The things that you intake, you may have an addiction to certain things like sugar. Like, that's a big one here, especially in the U.S. The addiction to sugar, because sugar is in everything. It's in freaking everything. So that's really going to be a hard one to get over. But tell yourself, you have to really program yourself and stop telling yourself that you don't have the ability to do it, right? Basically, and that's basically what you're doing, right? When you say, I don't like exercise, or I don't like taking pills, or I don't like the taste of green supplements, you're setting limits on what you can do, and if you do that, then you're going to have limits on what you can achieve in your health. So yeah, same thing for cutting sugar, cutting sodas, cutting sugary drinks, cutting these heavy starchy carbs, or at least reducing those things, because your body turns them into sugar, excess sugar than you need. Just reducing your portions, right? And you always say, well, no, I need X amount of food or X amount of calorie. Well, if you're needing to lose weight, for one, or if you have high blood sugar, for two, that's actually even more important, then maybe part of that equation is reducing your portions, right? Portion control. You gotta really arm yourself. And I think the bottom line with this entire conversation is really arming yourself with the proper self-talk and the proper, which ends up becoming the proper mindsets, which end up becoming the productive and healthy habits, right? Self-talk that you can do these things, right? It's really empowering, as opposed to these three categories of things that we talk about. Switch to empowering language, switch to empowering self-talk, switch to empowering affirmations that will support the changes that you want to make. And really, it's up to you. It's up to you to do it. We have to start off, I think, with number one, the desire, and number two, a long enough follow through in doing these things to make those actual changes stick. And part of that comes with discipline. Sure, you'll have a day or here or there that you'll fall off the wagon, but that doesn't mean that you got to start all over. You just got to pick up where you left off on the next day after that, right? And it's also one thing I want you to understand. It's not like I live this kind of miserable life where all I'm doing is paying attention to, my regimen and I'm limiting myself very, very narrowly to the things that only are good for me. I mean, like, it's an 80-20 thing, right? I eat ice cream every once in a while, even though I'm lactose intolerant, you know what I mean? So it's not like this Spartan kind of eat only for necessity and fuel. Like I I enjoy myself, but I enjoy myself while also being cognizant of the choices and the decisions I make, because I know those things, if they turn into habit, good or bad, will affect the outcomes of my health. And that's really what it is. It's changing these mindsets, flipping how we're talking to ourselves, long enough to change these mindsets so that you can develop new habits that will move you towards the goals and the changes that you want to make in your health. So hopefully this helps. Again, it's the negative affirmations, it's just how it is, mindsets, and also acquiring the taste, right? And understand that you can acquire the taste and the desire for things that you may not currently be doing. All right. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps raise your awareness around your mindset so that you can make changes in your health. All right. So that's going to do it for today's episode. If you have any questions about health, I'm here for you. I've part of what I've done in the network marketing space since I've been partnered with a health and wellness company, a nutritional company, is that I've helped thousands of people at this point, because 20 plus year career, or almost 20-year career in this space. I've helped thousands of people throughout my career improve their health and do so with lasting results, right? And it all really it starts from the mindsets, because the mindsets turn into habits. And if you can change those two foundational things, then you can change the rest of your life, the health results that you're getting for the rest of your life. Okay, so reach out if you need help from a health standpoint. Leave me a message in the video in the comment section, or you can direct message me. Like I said, you can find me on Facebook. Facebook.com/Ronnie11, or in the podcast, you can click that link that says send a text, right? It's a new feature on Buzzsprout. You can send me a message and you can reach out. And of course, I'll leave a link to the greens that I take. They're incredible greens, all natural. The ingredients are freaking fantastic. So if you're interested in a lean greens supplement, because I don't eat a lot of vegetables, so I rely on that, as well as mushrooms. One of my favorite things about this particular greens product is the incredible mushrooms that's in there. Lots of great stuff. So I'll leave a link a link to that, in the description of this episode. And of course, as I mentioned last week, here's the thing. If you're not already following the show, please follow, subscribe if you're watching the video version of this. But I encourage you, if you know one person, I want you to think about one person that you think this episode might help, and please share it with them. My goal again is to grow this show to well beyond what we've achieved so far. 2025, I really want it to be our breakout year. So do me a favor. I can only grow this show with your help. I'm doing this mostly grassroots. Do me a favor. Think of that one person who you think this episode can help, and share this episode with them. I would greatly appreciate it. So that's going to do it. More from me next week with a fresh new episode. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.